Hello, Martijn.
Hello, Nele.
Hello.
Hello to everybody. I'm Martijn Lofvers. I'm Supply Chain Magazine and Supply Chain Movement Editor-in-Chief, and also Chief Trend Watcher of Supply Chain Media. We have a nice, interesting webinar this afternoon talking about visibility and live tracking, and I'm going to discuss this with Nele Campaert, Product Manager, Live Tracking at Transwide. So, hello, Nele. We will start right away. First, to the audience, you can type in all kind of questions in the bar in your screen. I will ask them immediately if it's the proper timing, or I will use them at the end of the webinar, depending on the questions. This webinar will be recorded, so people can rewatch it, and you can watch it again. And I hope it's satisfying. So, Nele, to you, please introduce yourself quickly, and then we move on to Alpega and the subject of the webinar.
Perfect. Thank you, Martijn. Yes, so my name is Nele Campaert. I'm product manager for the So, Martijn, can you hear me? Just a small question.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. No. Perfect. So my name is Nele Campaert. I am a product manager for the Transwide Live Tracking solution and also for the mobile application, which is called WeTrack. I have been working for Transwide since 8 years in total. I have started with Transwide a few years ago as a customer support team leader. I have also worked for the last years as a delivery manager, implementing the Transwide solutions for our different customers. And recently, I joined the product development team.
Okay. Could you explain me something about Alpega, because that's a new brand launched earlier this year. So we see here that we're gonna introduce Alpega, and then we go over to the live tracking topic. So could you explain something about Alpega?
Yes, I will. So I will first introduce a little bit the Alpega name before we actually start the discussion on our live tracking solution. So really want to explain a little bit where the product is placed within our Alpega group. So the Alpega group was So the Alpega group was founded last year, and we are basically a global logistics software company. As you can see on the slide, we have 3 different TMS solutions within the group. So that's the iNet TMS, the Transwide, and then we also have a carrier TMS system in the group, the TAS system. We also offer 3 different freight exchanges. So they are also on the slide. So we have 123 Cargo, Teleroutes, and then recently we have W Transnet that joined the Alpega group as well. And then on the right side on the slide, we also have a tendering solution in our group, which is called Tender Easy. So I highlighted as well in pink. So beneath Transwide, you also see visibility. So that's actually where we have our live tracking solution. So it's really offered within the Transwide TMS system.
Okay. We will discuss it in depth later on. Exactly. Okay. So could you tell us more about Alpega? How big is it, and what do you deserve? Do you have some information about there? So how? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now.
No problem. Well, I will talk about it actually in the next slide. Okay. I will talk about some numbers for the Alpega group. So how much orders we currently have in our solutions, how many customers, and how many countries we are working. So first of all, I wanted to explain maybe a little bit what the key drivers are for implementing a TMS system. So basically on this slide, it's a slide with the percentages are basically coming from Gartner. And as you can see, basically the key drivers for implementing a TMS is that we have on number one that the customers are actually seeking to improve visibility. So, and then we mean real-time visibility into the orders and the shipments. As a second one, which I have highlighted here as well on the slide, that is basically a key driver for a shipper to implement a TMS or even a 3PL customer. They're seeking to improve the business outcome processes. So in order to achieve that, you basically need to improve the visibility so that you can overcome your inefficiencies that you can have, for example, in the yard or in your transport operations and so on.
I can imagine that improving your business process outcomes is also related to visibility, because the customer want to need when goods are arriving, so that it's also related.
Exactly. Like you cannot achieve to improve those inefficiencies, let's say, if you don't have any real-time visibility on what's going on with the shipment. So that's basically also what Gartner mentions here as well, and marks as a key driver for a TMS system.
And later on, you said in enhanced decision making, you know, well, if you don't have visibility, you will have to decide ad hoc. And if you do have visibility, you can proactively take measures if things don't go according to plan. So also
exactly, because
yeah.
Indeed, because you will know what's going on, and you can communicate proactively with your end customers, for example, which is not the case if you lack this visibility, for example.
Yeah. So, and all the other things down below is also probably related to visibility in some sense, like
yes,
improve customer relationships, relations and service, and that kind of.
Of course, yes, indeed.
Okay, clear. Yeah, interesting.
So a little bit more numbers, but I promise it's one of the last slides with some numbers. So also, if we see here where basically the best-in-class companies, so it's the left number, the 69%. So there you can see that basically the best-in-class companies, they have a 69% advantage in terms of visibility and even connectivity compared to others. So they're even like, if I can have some more numbers in the webinar, we have like 71% more likelihood that by enabling carriers, so that means including carriers, but brokers, 3PLs, like onboarding all of them, basically gives a very strong indication on how the best-in-class can focus on improving performance results. So they are basically 71% more likely to achieve more and better and improved performance results compared to the others.
Okay.
So the visibility part is very important, and I think the last two slides prove that.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
Okay, so here we have the numbers you were waiting
for.
So basically for the Alpega introduction, or to conclude the Alpega introduction, we have a few numbers here which are related to our global TMS systems. So you can see here on the slide we are active in more than 80 countries. We have more than 1,000 active customers, so that's not only shippers but also 3PLs. We have more than 147,000 connected users, and we can handle all transportation modes. So it's not only road but also air, railway, ocean, parcel, and so on. And we offer cloud-based solutions, so our TMS systems are cloud-based.
So what I understand, all your systems are cloud-based. So and that's important also to connect the functionalities along the different kind of applications you mentioned earlier.
That's correct. Yes.
And the number of orders you have processed, that's enormous.
I'm sorry?
The number of orders,
yes, the number of orders it's huge. So if we combine the three TMS systems together, then we have indeed a very large number of orders, of transactions basically each year. That's correct.
All right.
Okay, and the very last slide is our customer logo wall. It's not the exhaustive list, but it gives you a good idea of which customers are connected today to our TMS systems. So we basically cover different verticals and industries. So you can see some labels for the automotive industry, but we also have the agrochemicals, construction machinery you can see as well. And then we have some 3PL players, customers focusing on packaging, FMCG. So it's a very wide range of industries that we cover today.
Yeah, basically all over the supply chain, upstream, downstream,
Yeah.
in different areas and different industries in the supply chain, you are having customers. Okay, all right.
Okay. So then I think we will now move on to the second part of the webinar of our agenda, which is more related to the live tracking solution.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with the first slide. So I would like to start maybe to explain a little bit why we have launched a real-time tracking or visibility solution in the Transwide TMS system. So basically, our shippers, our customers today, they lack a real-time visibility on the execution of the shipment. So they really have difficulties to inform their end customers on time or proactively when a shipment will arrive with a delay or when there is a potential problem. So it requires today a lot of time for them to find out via calls and emails. They have to call the carriers back and forth to find out where the truck is and when it will arrive. So there's a lot of inefficiency today in these operational processes. And that's one of the, or some of the reasons why we decided to develop a live tracking solution for our customers.
I can imagine that there's a triangle of the shipper, the receiver, and also the carrier. So there are three parties involved, and because of that could be a lot of noise and waste of tracking the goods along the way.
Exactly. So that's where we come in, let's say. So if I go to the next slide, then I can explain a little bit what the solution offers today. Mm-hmm. So basically, what does the live tracking visibility of our live tracking solution, what can it mean for you? So in a nutshell, before we go into the demo, so what do we offer? We offer truck position on a map. So basically, you see where the truck is. We offer you an ETA, so we give you an estimated time of arrival for both pickup and for delivery. Mm-hmm. We give you delay notifications, so users can activate notifications and receive alerts. And we also offer automatic arrival triggers, and this is related to the geofence around the loading and unloading area. So basically, when the truck breaches that geofence, then we will automatically set or state that the truck has arrived at the loading location or when he has left the loading location, and then the same we can also do for the unloading location.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how many times do you refresh your truck position on the map?
Yeah, so we can do it like every 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes we get the new geo coordinates, from the different onboard telematics systems, and then we update the ETAs, depending, of course, on the delta that has been set by our shippers.
And regarding the ETA, I can imagine that you have a requested ETA and a planned ETA as it resolves during transport. Is it also included? So both?
Yes, of course. So we give you both a plan. So what is initially planned by the shipper in the transport order, and then we give you the new calculated ETA, and we show you what if there is a delay. Then we show you also how much the delay is. So that is all visible in the live tracking solution. Yes.
So, but it starts with the shipper who's sending out goods to a customer. So that's outbound to the shipper, the owner of the goods, and that's inbound for the receiving end, the customer.
Exactly. So it all starts with a transport order, so inbound, outbound, from one pickup to another delivery location. That's the condition. Like we need to start from that order with the planned dates and times when the truck should load and unload, and then as of then we can start tracking, of course, given the fact that the carrier is providing us the license plate, because that is, of course, the condition to be able to know which truck we should track. And then we receive the data, and we can recalculate ETAs and so on.
Okay. Yep.
I have another slide which will show in a visual presentation what it basically means, the live tracking. So it should become more clear during the webinar. So basically here, just wanted to give you some numbers of the market situation, because maybe some of the participants of the webinar have asked themselves already a question like, how can you connect to all the trucks in the market? Knowing that we have about 550 different telematics providers in Europe. As of 2020, about 100% of new trucks will actually be equipped with onboard telematics. But how can you integrate with so many different systems? So basically, what we do on Transwide side is that, I'll show you in the next slide, is that we do that for our shippers. So basically those connections, we take care of that. And today we are already connected to 450 different telematics providers. So we are already covering 80% of the market. So that's a really big advantage. It's already there. We have already more than 2,000 carriers that are onboarded and from which we can retrieve the tracking data. And we can also easily onboard new telematics providers and carriers and connect them to the live tracking solution. So this is all what Transwide is doing. So it's really easy to start a live tracking with Transwide.
But the carrier does need telematics, or can they use a mobile device as an alternative?
So as a second source, so I will go immediately to the next slide, because that will give maybe some more insight. So it's a small visual presentation of what we do or how the tracking is done. So if we start on the left, then basically you can track from the onboard computer within the truck. Or we can have the tracking started from the mobile device, which will come in the near future. So then basically we will allow two different types of sources to track the truck. Okay. So what we do then is we cannot start tracking at any time we want, because there is some GDPR regulations in place as well. And of course, if a customer or if a carrier, is delivering to another customer first, then yeah, it would not be a good idea if we're just giving that view as well to our shippers. So basically, we start tracking as of 50 kilometers from the loading location. So that's basically the point when we can start the tracking. And then we will just follow the truck until it reaches the loading location. If our customer wants to work with the geofence timestamps, then we will activate them, and then we will automatically say that the truck has arrived for loading. And again, when the truck leaves the geofence, we will say, okay, now he has left for loading, and the truck is basically in transit towards the delivery.
Okay. What is the distance? What is the distance of the inner geofence area?
So it's 1 kilometer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. So when the truck is then in transit, we will recalculate the ETA. So we can do that each 5 minutes. So we can also indicate if the truck is delayed or if there's a potential delay. That will all be marked in the dashboard, so that I will show you during the demo how it looks like. And then again, when the truck reaches the unloading location, so when he arrives at the destination, we can do the same. So we can indicate when he has arrived, and then also when he has left.
So when does the user will see if there are traffic jams or other possible delays along the line?
So the traffic jams, for example, that's already automatically included in the ETA calculation. So we are already including real-time traffic and historic traffic patterns in our ETA calculation. If there is another incident, because of course, besides traffic jams, I can think of other problems like a truck breakdown and so on, then of course these can all be reported as well, and they can be visible then as well for our users in Transwide.
So basically, the user will see if the truck enters the green circle, if there were any traffic jams, and if there will be any traffic jams along the way until to the destination.
It will already be included in your ETA calculation. So,
okay.
So the traffic jams are taken into account when we calculate the ETA. So,
okay.
So the end customer will know when the truck will arrive.
Yep. Right. And so in the finished delivery, you have a proof of delivery, and you have your CMR.
Yes. So that would be, let's say, the end of the execution part. So when the goods are delivered, then the carrier or the driver, they can upload the POD or the CMR. And that will be shown in Transwide to the parties that are connected.
So that could be both the shipper, the receiver, and of course the carrier itself, who are along.
Exactly.
The
exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So before we start the demo, I just want to explain a little bit within Transwide. We offer different types of track and trace information. And I want to explain a little bit the difference of what we can achieve. So if we start at the bottom, you see that we can have a basic planned ETA in Transwide that can be provided by either the shipper or the carrier. So this ETA can come through the web portal by somebody logging into the portal, providing information, or it can be done via a mobile device. So the driver can provide us this information as well. Or we can have carrier APIs with different carriers, and then basically the information is coming from the TMS system from the carrier. Now, if we move up, so if we follow the arrow, then we basically go to our live tracking solution, where we can actually achieve a calculated ETA, as we call it. So that ETA is based on the geolocation. So how can we get that ETA? So as you saw in the previous visual, we either get it through the onboard telematics of the truck, or in the near future from the mobile device. Sure, please.
I got a question for the audience. Do you have ever seen tracking solutions without the use of a GPS device?
Okay. Then if we go one level up, then we can actually achieve as well a real-time ETA if we can connect to the carrier API, and then if it can come through the TMS system of the carrier. So basically, this is something we will allow as well in the near future, that this ETA, which we consider a real-time ETA, which includes all the driving times and all the information that basically a carrier has inside his TMS. And that ETA will also be sent to our live tracking solution.
So that would include driving times, legal times when drivers have to stop and rest and that kind of stuff?
Exactly. So depending on what the carrier TMS can offer, we will actually put that into the live tracking solution. Yeah.
So that's depending on the usage of the planning system of the carrier to be included.
Yes, it depends on the maturity of the carrier. That's correct.
Okay.
So if they can provide it, then we will actually push it to the live tracking solution, and we will include that ETA into in the solution and make it visible for the shippers and the other parties that are connected. So it really depends a little bit of what the need is of the shipper, what he needs to have, what kind of ETA he's expecting. So we can basically cover all sorts of ETA. That's what the slide is representing.
Okay. Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. So maybe to end our second part of the webinar, just wanted to remind you that the Transwide TMS system, it's cloud-based, just like our other TMS system, which is called iNet. We can handle different transport modes and different shipment types. So basically, any situation or business you're in, we can offer a solution for that with our TMS systems.
But the live tracking is just prohibited for the road freight FTL at the moment.
For the moment, yes, because our main customers or the majority of our customers that we have today in our Transwide solution are handling road. Yeah, that's correct. So that's basically the part where we started.
Yeah. So, but iNet is also broader in multimodal sense TMS. So I can imagine that in that area, live tracking could also be, included with other modalities.
Exactly, but also for Transwide, it will come. So
Okay.
The module live tracking was launched this year in June. So we had proof of concepts last year. So today we're focusing on road, but in the future, of course, we want to and we will focus on the other transport modes as well, and that will be included in the live tracking. Yes.
Okay. All right, makes sense. Yeah.
So just to end here the Transwide part, just in a nutshell, just to summarize a little bit. So the Transwide system, it's a modular system. So we have different solutions that we offer, and they go from sourcing to planning and optimizing the transport. Then we have the execution part. So here we have our live tracking. So it's marked as well. Then we go to the settlement, of course, after the execution of the transport. So then we settle. We have solutions that offer the calculation of your planned transport costs, but also we manage accessorial cost claims, invoicing, and so on. And then at the very end, we have the analyze part, which covers our modules for the KPI reporting and so on in our BI tool.
Okay.
So what will live tracking bring to you? So we will bring a logistics control tower where the users can manage delays and potential delays. You can measure on-time delivery and other carrier performance reports through the KPIs. We will notify customers automatically if they want, or it's basically our customers or the customers, our customers, they can all be notified automatically through the alerts so that they are proactively informed when there is a potential delay or a delay on the delivery. And at the end, our live tracking solution will lower the costs for our shippers because the shippers will be able to improve their efficiency. They can reduce the costs compared to manual tracking because, of course, as mentioned before, the manual tracking, it requires much more resources. Whereas if you have everything in one control dashboard, you don't need to call your carrier or email him again to find out where the truck is. And there is no integration cost to onboard carrier telematics systems.
So basically, but the visibility is only on a need-to-know basis. So you only see what you are allowed to see. So you don't see things that's not for you, that mentioned for you, shipments to competitors or what have you. and you can also have only alerts of well, out of the order. So that is also a good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can manage by exception.
By exception, yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
All right.
Okay. So then I think, yeah, we can go to the demo. Link to the demo.
Show us.
Okay. So just gonna go to our demo environment of the live tracking solution. So I'm now logged in as a user of Transwide, who's working with live tracking. So on top of the screen, we have some different modules. So I explained Transwide is a modular solution. So in this example, there are different modules activated. But basically, if one of our shippers decides to work with live tracking, then he will have minimum this module. It's TV call-off, which manages the transport orders. So as I said, everything starts with the transport order, which we should receive from the shipper. So that is managed through here. And then you have a special tab here, live tracking. And this is basically the main page for live tracking. I will first start to explain a little bit what we see here on the screen. So I will start with the order list. So I'm just gonna extend the list. Okay. So I'm first gonna explain a little bit what we have in the list, and then I will also explain here a little bit the color coding. This is a mocked version, so the data that you see today, it's of course it's fake data. Mm-hmm. So we will show you, of course, the shipper company name. We have the unique transport order reference here. Then we have a status if we are tracking or not. So active means we are actively receiving the tracking data. So the truck is basically in transit. Cancelled, just to indicate if a transport order has been cancelled by the shipper. We can have a status completed when the tracking has been completed, so that's quite self-explanatory. And then there can be a few errors, and if there is an error why we cannot, for example, start the tracking or why the tracking has ended, then we will also show to the shipper or to the user what is going wrong. So basically, some of the reasons could be that the plate number that was provided is not recognized, so it's, for example, a wrong one, or there is no plate number provided. So if we don't have a plate number, then we don't know the truck, so we cannot receive the data, or if there's no carrier assigned. So then if I continue with the information we see here is then we have the loading location. So we show the complete address details where the goods need to be loaded. Mm-hmm. And then it is followed by the address details for the unloading location. Okay. The carrier name. So here we have the carrier that's executing the transport. And this is where we have the planned pickup. So this is basically the pickup date and time that has been requested by the shipper when the goods need to be loaded. When we are tracking, then we receive the ETA here. So the new ETA, when the truck is estimated to arrive at the location, will be displayed with the date and time. If there is a delay shown, then we will include it here. So we will say how much the delay is. So in this example, we have a 2 hours delay. And basically the same we do for the delivery. So we have, just go a bit more to the right. So we have a planned delivery date and time. We have here as well a new ETA when the truck will arrive at the destination. And then we provide you, if there is a delay, how much the delay is.
Yep.
Okay. And then here on the right side, we have 4 timestamps. And these timestamps are related to the geofence. So if they are basically, they're activated, so if our customer wants us to automatically update the timestamps to indicate when the truck has arrived for loading and unloading, then these timestamps will be provided. So if I just put a mouse on it, yeah. So here we have the arrived at loading location, left loading location, and then again here when he arrived at the destination, and then when he left the destination.
I also see a question about geofencing. So how does that work? in practice?
So this is basically the 1 kilometer distance that I explained you. So when the truck breaches that radius around the loading or unloading location, then we can automatically update and say, okay, the truck has arrived for loading. And then again, when the truck leaves the loading location and when he breaches that 1 kilometer radius around the location, then we will say that he has loaded and left the loading location.
You can imagine that also some receivers want to have a certain slot, and they give a carrier a certain slot. So is it also included? Because he can't be too early and too late. Just in a time fence. So that's also related if he's in time in a geo fence to break that slot.
Yeah, so actually that takes me here to the part where we have this color coding. So what we allow our users to do is they can define the concept of a delay. So we have some different colors to show if the truck is delayed. So then it's red, on time, green, and then yellow if there is a potential delay. But these concepts, we let our shippers define that himself. So basically, if there is a time slot booked for loading, because our Transwide TMS solution also offers slot booking. So we have 2 different systems. So if there is a slot booked via Transwide, then basically our shipper could, for example, set a rule and say, okay, for me it means that I want to only have the shipment marked as delayed when this new ETA is recalculated to arrive 10 minutes past the book time slot. So these are all types of rules that the shipper can set up and configure here in live tracking. The same he can do also for a potential delay. So it's really our shipper that will choose on which planned date and time these delays or potential delays should be calculated.
All right.
Okay. So then when, let's take a look at this one. Voila. So if I click on one of the orders, then we will here have the order displayed also on the map, I mean the truck. Then what can we see here on the map? We have here the small icon for the loading location. So if I click on it, it will give me some more information. So I have the planned, again, the planned dates and times, what was in the original transport order. I have the address where the truck needs to load. We have here this green line, it's like a breadcrumb trail. This basically represents the route that the truck has already done. And then we see here the current position of the truck. We also mark it in red because this one is delayed. So if I click on it, I have some more information. So we have the last location update shown in here. We have the current speed. As I mentioned before, it's a mocked version, so it doesn't really represent reality. It's a bit too fast.
It's a bit high.
Yeah, he's flying. We have our new calculated ETA, so when the truck will arrive at the destination, the planned date and time here, and then again here the delay. So you have all the information you need as well by clicking just on the icons on the map. And then the blue line represents the truck route that the driver will take towards the destination. This is, of course, a theoretical truck route. It's just the same if you would plan a trip via Google Maps, for example. So as soon as he moves on, we will see which route he actually took. And then again here, we can click on the destination and we have the planned dates and times and then the unloading address. And then last but not least, we have a very nice feature here, which I think it's very nice. We can enable the real-time traffic as well. So for example, if you really want to see if the truck, for example, is stationary, then you can switch on the real-time traffic and then you can just start to zoom in. And yeah, now I'm below Paris. But okay, so you can zoom in just like with Google Maps. It will tell you where the problems are, where there are traffic jams, and so on. So that can also give shippers and other users insight why, for example, a truck is standing still.
But does the system know what kind of routes has been planned? So I can imagine, especially when you have traffic jams, I don't know if the carrier has the same knowledge and is taking the same route as your system will predict or would choose.
So this is the theoretical truck route. So as I said, it's like if you plan a trip with Google Maps, it will give you a route which is based or which is acceptable for cars. So this is a route which is based for trucks. It's the fastest route that we display. But of course, if the driver decides to take a detour, then we will see it later on as soon as he's moving on. So this is the potential route that he should take.
So in the analysis afterwards, you can determine if the carrier has taken the optimal route or not.
Actually, when it's completed, we show the route that has been taken. Yes, so that you can see what he has done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For the time being, this is a little bit in a nutshell what we offer with our live tracking solution. So I don't know, but maybe we can now move to the questions. The questions part. There are some questions.
But still, I maybe to keep it here. Does the customer, all three parties involved, have the same view of the system? So does the receiving end will see the same kind of information you display here?
Yes, they will see the same information, but of course only for their shipments.
Yeah.
So that's, and the carriers as well. So it's only for their shipments, but they will have in the future, we can activate it for them. It's actually coming beginning of next year, and then they will have the exact same view as the shipper. Yes.
Can you explain? With the timestamps. So with three, one of them have 4 timestamps, and the other 2 have only 2 green timestamps. What does it mean?
Well, in this example, so the 4 timestamps means that the truck has arrived at the destination and the tracking is completed. Yep. So basically arrived and transport was executed. And for this one, so this example, which we also see here on the map, it means that we have picked up the goods. So the first 2 timestamps have been filled out, but the last 2 not yet, because we're still in transit towards the delivery.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yep. Yeah. All right. Yes, I have some other questions. Is tracking only possible on the level of a truck, or how about the level on an individual package? Is that something in the future also possible?
Yeah. So for the time being, it's on the truck, but basically our system allows both tracking on the tractor or on the trailer. So it depends on the telematics system of the carrier, what they're using. We allow tracking on both. So it's not necessarily on the package itself, but we can track on tractor and trailer.
All right. Is this also available in the US, this system?
It will come, yes, it will come. So we're basically, we will launch it as well in the US. So the same solution will be offered for our US customers, yes.
Okay, and where is it depending on to launch it over there?
It depends, of course, because the integration we have today or the setup is completely focused on the European market. So that was our first focus. And now we are moving on to the US market, and we are actually preparing everything in order to have the live tracking enabled there. So that's why it's not simultaneously launched, let's say.
Okay, and I got another question. What happens when a container is transported by truck, train, and barge? Can I follow the container? So reckon now it's focused on road transport. But when you do multimodal, would you be able to track a container or?
Well, what we will allow in the future as well, because basically it's a very interesting question. So for multimodal, we are looking into different options, but we will probably allow a more event-based tracking. So that is one part. So it's event-based, meaning that different partners, and then I mean logistics service providers, which have already these informations on where the container is and so on, they will be able to provide us that data, and that will be visible in here as well. And we are at the same time, we're also thinking about integrating as well with other partners. So it's just a start. So today it's tracking via road, and we can track the truck. But tomorrow we will, of course, also integrate with other providers. And then we're also thinking about rail providers, because this is especially needed as well in the US. The rail providers, I'm sorry. And others as well. So basically everybody, or we can make connections with other providers. That's not a problem.
So basically it's about the handover to a different kind of carrier in a different modality, and not so much the container itself. So when you connect all the carriers involved in a chain, a multimodal chain, you will take it from the different carriers, and then you will make it visible where they are in the chain, and not so much the container itself.
Exactly, and then it also depends. Again, we come back to the maturity, let's say, or the information which the different logistic players can offer to us, because we believe and we know by talking to customers and different 3PL players that they have a lot of valuable information already in their internal system. So that's why we want to connect also to those carriers and players, and allow that information in our tracking system, because for the multimodal, we believe that's the way to go.
Okay. Another question: how do you manage spot hauliers with no telematics interfaces and probably no app installed on a driver mobile phone?
You mean spot carriers? Or...
Yeah, spot hauliers, carriers, yes.
But for our solution today, you need to be a carrier in registered carrier, let's say. So you need to be connected to us, and we need to connect to your telematics system. If you are a spot carrier, then the other source of tracking can be the mobile phone. So that will be in the near future the second source of tracking. So basically then it's the driver that will provide us the tracking data from his phone, and we will receive the GPS coordinates from his device.
Yeah. So how easy would that be to to download the app and be connected to the platform?
Well, it's quite easy because the app is already there.
Okay.
So everybody can already download it. It's already in use. So our carriers can already push the call-off, so the transport orders, to their drivers. And the drivers, they can report on incident timestamps, they can report, they can upload photos, documents. That's already all in place. They can do that through the web portal, but they can also just via the carrier API, they can tell us, okay, this is the mobile phone number, for example, of the driver, and then we will automatically send an SMS or an email to that driver, and then he will have that order visible by clicking on the link. So it's as easy as that. So tomorrow, what we will do is we will basically have a new option available where the driver will push a button to say, okay, start driving.
Okay.
That's what will happen.
So another question: if I don't want to be alerted of small delays, can I also choose to only be alerted if it's a real big delay?
Yeah, exactly. So you define yourself when you want to be informed. Well, as I said, first of all, you define what is a delay for you. So if the delay is only maybe 1 hour, you're not even interested to receive a notification or to mark it even as delayed. We can even say 1 day, or that can also be done. That was actually one of the cases during our proof of concepts, where one of our customers only wanted to be alerted when the ETA would differ with 1 day. So basically, when the delivery could not take place on the requested date, then they wanted to have that information.
Okay. So another question, is the integration with the different onboard telematics systems an own development or an integration with other precision providers?
Yeah. So we are working with one partner in Europe who's establishing the connections.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Question from my side, for which kind of industries is it most relevant? So we have seen the power of visibility, but for what industry is it interesting to do this?
Well, actually, it can be used. It's not really industry specific, and this is also something that Gartner mentions. It actually can be used for all company sizes, no matter what geography or industry you're in. It's basically it's a tool which can help to spot delays and potential delays and to communicate in a proactive way. So there are different verticals where this tool can be used. If I think of a few examples, then it could be very interesting for customers which transport high-value consumer goods, but it can also be very useful for those customers that want to have an ID and want to be alerted on time and understand when the shipment will be delayed for their end customer. So so far we are and have implemented it in different industries. So we are talking about chemicals, but also 3PLs and even in the construction machines.
So I can imagine that especially in the automotive industries, you have a lot of just-in-time deliveries, and you have a lot of geofencing and slotting. So that could be of use in that area.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And now on the customer side and the consumer side, there's a need for quicker deliveries. So that also probably requires more insight of ETAs and visibility in that set.
Yes, and I think at the end it's something that well, most shippers want, because it's a little bit like this Amazon effect, where you are already used that if you order something yourself, like a parcel online, that you can follow and track and see when the parcel will be delivered at your door. And now we have basically that same expectation moving to the supply chain, and I think at the end, it's really something that all shippers want, is real-time visibility, because it's the only way to achieve customer satisfaction and to improve your processes. And yeah, go ahead, Martijn.
Another question, as not the actual planned route is being showed on the map, how is the ETA calculated based on the shortest route? What if the carrier has multiple stops prior to our delivery? This will not be reflected in the ETA, question mark.
If he has multiple stops prior to the delivery, could you repeat, Martijn? Sorry.
So so the question is, as not the actual or planned route is being showed on the map, because it's Google kind of route, how is the ETA calculated based on the shortest route? So is it possible that, for example, with this route, there will be prior stops and included in the ETA?
So for the moment, it's really from the loading to the unloading location, and we expect that what is planned in the transport order, that's how it should be executed, or at least that's the case we're covering today with live tracking. So if it's not planned up front, meaning if the shipper didn't plan the different stops, then at the moment, for the time being, it's not feasible yet. So you will see it on the map. You will see the truck moving and stopping, but we will not calculate in the initial ETA that he will stop at different places, because we don't know. It will come in the future that we will allow multi-stop, but it's not foreseen yet.
Basically, when you are connecting to the planning system of the carrier, then it would include well, the lead times of the transport, so including stops in between.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that will come. It will come.
Yeah.
So,
all right. How long does it take to implement this at a company?
yeah. So if the customer is already existing and working with Transwide, then basically we already have the transport order. So I'm assuming that we have already the transport order. That's the first case. Then it can go really fast, because the only thing we would need to do, or what is required, is that we know which are the carriers that should be tracked. And actually, they just need to be connected and tell us which telematics provider they're using. Since we have already approximately 450 providers that are connected to us, they can either select it from the list, and then immediately they are connected to us, and we can retrieve the data. So it's a matter of a registration process, which should not take even 10 minutes. If it's a new provider, then they just have to indicate it's a new provider, and then the integration will be established. So that's the case when we have a customer working with Transwide. If it's a new customer, so then we need to do this part as well. And then they need to send us the transport order. So depending a little bit on how they want to use our platform, if it's directly from their internal ERP, then we need to work on the implementation between their system and Transwide. Or if they want to work manually, if they will create the orders manually from the web or through an Excel upload, for example, then it can also go quite fast. So I would say if it's a complete new customer and we need an interface, then I think you need to count or a minimum of 2-3 months.
So in this case, it might be a shipper planning the transport, or would it also be viable to let a LSP use a system?
Yes, because well, basically today we already have logistics service providers working with Transwide. And on our side, there is not much of a difference in the role they play. So they actually also act as a shipper on our side. So it would be the same process for them. So
basically, LSP can deliver better service to both the shipper and the receiver.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So I was also wondering, would all the data be on the board computer, or how does that work? So what kind of data do you need on the board computer or the mobile phone?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we get this question regularly from carriers that are a bit skeptic and afraid of what kind of data we will take from the onboard computer. So the only information we have and that we take from the onboard computer is the GPS coordinates, nothing else. So everything else, ETA calculation, is all done by us. We don't have any access to other data, such as temperature control data or other sensitive data. We don't. It's only the GPS coordinates.
So you're not a kind of Facebook who wants all the data.
No.
Yeah, I think these are the questions I got for myself, and these are the questions from the others, as I can see. So yeah, I think it's almost time to wrap up.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we have seen a lot. Do you have some final remarks on your side about live tracking in general, and especially Transwide?
No, that I have nothing to add. Maybe just want to encourage the participants, if they have some further questions, that they should reach out to us, and then we can of course discuss it with them should there still be something unclear.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot. It was very enlightening to hear how it's working and actually see it in a kind of live demo, how it looked like and what are all the features. So thank you for that. And I would like to thank all the audience for listening in. And thank you for the questions. And I hope it was worthwhile to listen to this webinar. And with that, I would like to close it and maybe see you or hear you in the next time.
Okay, thank you very much, Martijn.
Yeah, thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.